And welcome to this special edition of Studio 5. This week we're traveling to Texas, home base of the Chosen series.
You keep your distance from me in Jerusalem these next few days.
Why?
This season takes us to the Last Supper.
We have a common problem. Jesus the Nazarene.
We're taking you behind the scenes of this sacred time and getting an inside look at the storylines from the actors.
15 days will be done filming.
And we begin with Jonathan Rumi. He leads the cast and he plays the role of Jesus Christ.
If he was supposed to be healed, God would have done it himself.
Interesting point.
We will have no choice but to follow the law of Moses.
I am the law of Moses.
Recount your insulting words.
Oh, I am just getting started.
So we sat here season 1. Here we sit now. Yeah. Season 5, almost in the rearview mirror. How is Jonathan feeling?
Heretical. I say, woe to you, Pharisees, for you love the best seat in the synagogues.
It's hard to describe, Efrem. It's at once overwhelming and inspiring, and it's giving me a sense of elation that, like, I get to do this, and sadness that it's almost over. So, yeah, it's a mixed bag.
So if you could, now that we've come so far, look back over the course of your life, your acting career, have you spotted signs that you were being prepared for this, called to this?
1000%. I mean, from the time I was 11 or 12 years old.
11 or 12?
Yeah, well, where I reenacted the Passion in my backyard after having watched Jesus of Nazareth.
Wow.
I built a life-size cross and painted the nails and the blood and carried it around my backyard, made a crown of thorns from some thistles. And so I, from that moment, then I got cast in a multimedia project playing Jesus, and then 6 months later I met Dallas Jenkins to do a short film playing Jesus, and I did 2 more of those over the next 4 years, and then a year after that, Chosen showed up. So I think the writing's been on the wall, so to speak, for quite some time, and I only just noticed it now.
Wow.
Oh, Jerusalem, Jerusalem.
You can run on for a long time.
My house shall be called a house of prayer, but you make it a den of thieves.
So I know that when we're looking at season 5, we'll be looking at Holy Week. How would you describe the arc, what plays out in this season for Jesus?
Steamroller, bulldozer, intensity, just a melee of emotions and conflicts, climaxes of conflicts between Jesus and the authorities, climactic frustrations between Jesus and his disciples, their inability to get what he's telling them within days of it happening. And so there's a profound sense of love and sorrow, but also hope, knowing what's to come beyond the crucifixion. So it's a lot. It's a loaded season. It'll be the most beautiful, most complex, most intense season we've ever done.
What have you done?
The beauty of people watching you is you give us the humanity of Christ. How would you say Jesus has evolved over the course of this period we've played out so far?
We're seeing less of the divinity in the form of the miracles, perhaps, because we're coming to a point in the story where, Jesus's humanity is on full display. He's going to become the suffering servant. The responses to that will be utterly human. Seeing all his friends leave him, the desolation, the isolation, the despair, how they feel about him. There's a lot of the humanities getting concentrated now. I think it's like a super concentration of humanity before we see a super concentration of divinity in the resurrection. And so I think we're going to see the impact of that, most especially with the disciples.
720 million episode views, more than 200 million people have watched at least one episode. Season 4 playing on Amazon, and number 4 in terms of the most watched. You spend any time looking at those numbers?
You know, I hear them from time to time, but that's amazing. I think that's just a testament to the impact of the show and the story that we're telling. I think it's great. I think it just helps us understand that the story is getting out there. Jesus is being more known throughout the world as a result of it, and people are being more impacted because of it.
The world is changing, and Jesus offers a vision to redeem it.
He's not the Messiah!
The first of 3 theatrical releases of The Chosen, The Last Supper will be in theaters nationwide starting March 27th. Still ahead, a special look behind the scenes of The Chosen set. Plus, we're talking to the actors who play the roles of Matthew and Mary Magdalene.
It's actually made me more confident. I've learned a lot about myself, and I give that full credit to the writers, the showrunners, just giving Matthew this kind of personality.
We're standing now here in the home of Caiaphas, and this is where Jesus will eventually stand trial. As we tour the sets here, an interesting fact, many of the items that furnish these areas, they are purchased from places like Home Goods, Wayfair, and believe it or not, Target.
And welcome back to this Chosen edition of Studio 5. Elizabeth Tabish plays the role of Mary Magdalene, and Paras Patel plays Matthew. Together, they're sharing how their characters evolve this season.
I do believe that Jesus is most likely the Messiah.
Why?
Why what?
Why do you believe that?
I've seen too much.
Then why are you doing this?
I suppose I have not seen enough.
Matthew's journey on The Chosen is incredible, from being virtually not seen or ignored, spit on, to now finding himself and slowly becoming one of the most famous scholars in history. You see this confidence in him. So in season 5, you're seeing him really pay attention to all the detail and make sure all the records are accurate, because it is Holy Week. And in that, Matthew is listening, learning, taking care of others that he cares about, and most of all, growing.
There is talk of a collaborator from within of his own followers.
I'm Elizabeth Tabish, and I play Mary Magdalene. She's gone through so much in the last few seasons. When we first meet her, she's at her lowest point. She's possessed by demons, she's struggling with addiction, she has PTSD. And she meets Jesus and is healed from all of that. But we see this very realistic portrayal of growth over the next few seasons, where sometimes it's a little 2 steps forward, 1 step back, and she still struggles with the shame of her past and the fears of her experiences, and she's sort of learning from all the other people around her how to really let go of it and be present. And this season, I think, is the first time where she's really not thinking about herself at all anymore. Oh. She's not thinking about her past. She's not thinking about any of her fears or shame or anything, and she's just focused on Jesus and what he's saying and what he's teaching, and trying to figure out how she can help him, because the beginning of this season, the news is, he shares very publicly that he will die soon. So the stakes have become so much higher for everyone.
Yeah.
You guys are both naturally so intimately involved in this story. How has it changed you personally over the course of these last few years?
It's actually made me more confident. I've learned a lot about myself, and I give that full credit to the writers, the showrunners, just giving Matthew this kind of personality and body and depth. And it's helped me as Paras just kind of find my own roots and bearings. And I've really learned a lot, and just, owning yourself, staying grounded, but also just always trying to be the best version of yourself, which is what I like to embody with Matthew.
I mean, when I first booked the role, I was very similar to the Lilith version of Mary.
Oh, wow.
I really connected to that.
Mm-hmm.
I was going through a depression. I was struggling with a lot of pain and anxieties, and so over the course of these years, I feel like I've been allowed to change and grow alongside Mary. She's sort of been like this guide of showing me the path to a really fulfilling and joyful life.
Yeah.
And some of that is within the story, and some of that is on set with wonderful people that I get to act with and learn from and grow with. And so the entire experience has sort of all together brought me a lot of joy.
I could go on and on about the numbers in terms of 720 million views, the 14 million this, the 220 million this. Do you guys spend any time looking at the numbers as far as the reach of the show?
Matthew, I was like, yeah, Matthew does. So I will hide behind Matthew in this. But yeah, I mean, are we top 5 on Amazon Prime for the last week? Yeah. But yeah, who does? It's kind of fun because we just think about our humble beginnings and not even finishing the season, or not even knowing if we would finish season 1.
The first 4 episodes.
So just to now know that we're this globally impactful show, and having been around the world, seeing the impact and the footprint our show is leaving is kind of amazing. And so, yeah, I look at the numbers.
Whenever we go to these events and we see the audience reactions and the fan interactions, it starts clicking of like, oh, this is really, this is becoming a very globally enjoyed show. It's crazy.
So we are in season 5. You now have less road ahead of you and more behind you. Yeah. How does it feel?
I mean, I've been sad, to be honest, just because we're just so close and connected, and we were a big family here. So I'm not gonna lie, I've been a bit emotional this season.
I've been so surprised by how quickly it's grown, and that's allowed us to make the seasons faster. So it's just, at first it was this sort of slow, gradual growth, and now it feels like it's sped up, and it feels like it's going away. So
we're like chasing it.
Yeah.
Wait, no, we want you back. Yeah.
I ask that you keep your distance from me in Jerusalem these next few days.
Why?
Elizabeth Tabish and Paras Patel are also lending their voices to the upcoming animated series, The Chosen Adventures. This is an extension of the Chosen franchise. Before we head to break, let's take a look at season 5 of The Chosen in pictures. Ahead, we're going to continue our extensive look at The Chosen, The Last Supper with actors Luke Dimyon and Noah James.
I mean, he is human. He's not someone who came from betraying people to be like, all right, who's my next victim? Jesus of Nazareth. Yes.
Welcome back to Studio 5 and this exclusive look at Season 5 of The Chosen, The Last Supper. Many eyes will be on Luke Dimyon, who plays Judas Iscariot. We're sitting down with him now alongside Noah James, who plays Andrew.
Oh, Jerusalem, Jerusalem.
You can run on for a long time.
Season 5 begins and we find Andrew, fill in the blank.
It's so funny because the way that season 4 ends, there is a lot of tension walking into Jerusalem. And not to spoil anything, as we walk in, I mean, I think a lot of people know sort of what that entry into Jerusalem is like. Mm-hmm. That to me, Noah, and me as Andrew was a surprise. I think having all those hundreds of people there with us, chanting for us, singing, laying down their coats as we walk over the palm fronds. Mm-hmm. It was really, really moving. So I think Andrew's taken off guard and was like, oh, maybe this is going pretty well. And then, but yes. Yeah. For the first big 10 minutes of the season, Andrew's in a good place.
What troubles you, Judas?
This could have been given to the poor. This could have been used for anything. Supplies, shelter, things we need. But this is a waste.
And Judas?
Oh, hype. I think at the end of season 4, there's a lot of conflict in Judas. And at the beginning of season 5, with the sight of the crowds and multitudes gathered in Jerusalem, I think any of that frustration or doubt has been quelled with pure adrenaline and excitement that it's finally come, the moment he's been waiting for. Jesus, as the Messiah, has entered Jerusalem, is about to take his rightful place.
He's not the Messiah! Tell him that God's gonna cut you down.
Luke, how familiar were you with Judas's role in the story before coming to The Chosen?
I was very familiar. I grew up very familiar and having read the Bible, and even at a very young age, I was curious and always questioning why the hate on this guy who obviously felt so bad for what he did, the thing that we hate him for, that he sadly committed suicide. And that never just sat right with me, the kind of blind distaste we had for him, because whenever I read that story, I just saw a missed opportunity in an entire dogma that's supposed to be about forgiveness and rebirth from the misdeeds that you've done, to look at someone who had the opportunity to have the biggest redemption arc and to lose that's a tragedy to me. That's not someone to hate, that's someone to mourn.
Because I'm one of the people who had the hate, but I will say that.
Oh, whoops! Anyway, you enjoy this.
You better lose that hate now.
But you made him, or make him, so much more human that I'm saying, oh wow, yeah.
I mean, he is human. He's not someone who came from betraying people to be like, all right, who's my next victim? Jesus of Nazareth. Yes. Like he fully believed, he loved Jesus, he loved his fellow disciples, and he just needed something that he thought Jesus couldn't give him. And I don't know if you've ever been in a state of anxiety, a state of fear, where you want to keep your bases loaded, you need to have some security in your life, that you make a bad decision, financially, socially, it's almost instinct. And it's regretful. But I just think it's sad that most people don't realize how familiar that feeling can be, and how easily it is to separate them from something so human.
What have you done?
Aside from acting, Noah and Luke have a love for writing and directing. You can sample their behind-the-scenes work on television and on the web. Welcome back to this special look at The Chosen, The Last Supper. Shahar Isaac plays Simon Peter and Abe Bueno-Jallas plays James. Together, they're sharing their evolution of these disciples on the journey to the Last Supper.
Jesus of Nazareth.
I want peace, just like you.
There is talk of a collaborator from within of his own followers.
So Shahar, how would you describe Simon in this season? I know it's Holy Week. How would you describe him now?
Yeah, I think that the progression at this point, I'm already in the mindset of taking care of everybody else and not putting myself in front of them. And things are unraveling in a way that it's starting to lose control. Our leadership is starting to go to places that I'm a little, I feel like it's my time now to take command of everything, because I don't know what's going. I don't understand exactly what's going on here. So it's my time to just step up and take care of everybody, and take under consideration that that it might be me that has to continue and lead, and it's time. You're never ready for this.
No.
Hey, where do we find James?
I think James is. So we're all in similar circumstances, like Shahar was saying. There's a major confusion aspect about what Jesus is saying to us and how how do we progress? And so I think a lot of the disciples are taking their own approach.
We have a problem. Jesus operates entirely outside our jurisdiction.
I feel like every season this production grows.
Yeah.
How would you
Yeah.
compare what's strikingly different about the work this season? I know we're getting close to the end of production. What's strikingly different this time around?
I think, you know what's funny about it? That everything on the surface is gigantic and bigger and more, you know, everything on the surface, the sets are bigger, there's more people. You know, we were in Utah 3 weeks with 600 people every day. Everything grows.
Yeah.
However, I think the beauty is that the actual work has not changed at all. It's still a mom and papa shop doing its own thing, you know? Like 3 writers, you know? 3 writers, a very close-knit group of performers and creators and crew. So that's the beauty. It's like everything around it grew, but it's still the same very family feel. Everybody's still best friends. We didn't let it go to our heads, the fact that the show is going places, you know? And that's the beauty, that it's the same kind of heart. The spirit and the heart is the same. But yes, of course, the sets are huge and there's a lot of people and you know, the show has grown. But I don't know, I love that we are still in the same.
We started, you know, there's a lot of the studio is fund something from the top and then hopefully you get like a top-down result. And we've just been the opposite. We've been bottom up. We grew from the grass that couldn't grow to where we are now. And it's that, as he says, that grassroots mom and pop feel.
We've got time for just one more thing. Let's give the final word to Jesus, as in actor Jonathan Rumi.
For those of us who watch intimately, we all describe this project as life-changing for us. You being so heavily involved in leading it, has this changed your life?
100%. I mean, it's changed my relationship with God in that it has deepened it and profoundly and made me want to be more like Jesus in my day-to-day life, not just to play him. But I recently gave a commencement speech at a college, at a university, and one of the things that keep hitting me is like, you don't have to play Jesus on TV to be Jesus to the world. And I think that's what we're all called to do as believers and non-believers. I mean, when you're following the principles of Christ, like, life only gets better, and the world has changed, the culture's changed, and I think at the end of the day, that's one of the benefits and impacts of what we're doing.
Jonathan, thank you. That is a great final word for this edition of Studio 5. Until next time, make time to uplift someone around you, and then please come on back and see where Studio 5 takes you next week. Bye-bye, everybody.